There are few things in life that can truly bring us together. Few things that can lift us to our feet and bring us to our knees. Few things that can be analyzed, internalized, socialized, even spiritualized. It gives us identity. It gives us purpose. It makes us believe. There's nothing better. To the sickos, the diehards, the supporters, the hooligans, to the rowdiest, the most obsessed, the fans. For us and all those like us, it will always be sports over everything.
Psychos and sickos unite for a best thumbnail of the season edition of the PHNX Suns pregame show, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. Welcome on in. It's the full crew. I'm Eric. That's Gil. We got Espo. We got Steve. We got the Freckled Mamba behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. And Espo, we've got a new slogan here over at PHNX.
Yeah, look, sports over everything is the new approach, but really what it is we're recommitting and doubling down on what it means to be here for you, the fans, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what's going on with our sports teams. We're here and there's an immediacy to it. We all speak a common language when it comes to sports, and that's what we are here for. So, you know, it sounds like we're saying, hey, sports over anything. What we're saying is when you come here, we're going to talk sports. We're going to take your mind off the world, and we are here for either the diehard fans, the super fans, the first-time fans, whatever it is, we're here for you.
The psychos and the sickos who are gathering together today to watch the Phoenix Suns try to avenge a loss from very early in the season on a game-winning Ja Morant layup against the Memphis Grizzlies. No Ja Morant tonight. We'll get to that in a second. But Steven, how different is this Memphis Grizzlies team that they're seeing tonight from the one that they saw in game number 4?
Same mess, different day. The most
Same injury report too, but we'll get to that in a sec.
11 bodies on the injury report is insane.
I mean, let's just go ahead and look at it. I mean, let's get into the injury report presented by our friends over at the Husband and Wife Law Team. If you've had a serious injury, call the Husband and Wife Law Team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website at husbandwifelawteam.com. New Year, same mess for the Grizzlies. For the Suns, no Jamari Bouye, still out in concussion protocol. No Jalen Green, although he was warming up. We saw some videos from Dwayne Rankin posted out there. Jordan Goodwin continues to be available. Grayson Allen off the injury report. For the Grizzlies, let me squint here really quick.
Get your bifocals or whatever.
Ja Morant is questionable. He is now listed as out. Jaren Jackson Jr., who was questionable with an illness, is in. Cedric Coward is out. Santi Aldama is in. Scottie Pippen Jr. is out. John Conchar out. Suns legend Ty Jerome out. Zach Edey out. Brandon Clark out. And I'm not going to mention the last one because he's on a two-way. Look.
Disrespect.
I'm sorry. I also couldn't read it because the text was so small.
Disrespect.
Gil, it's a trap game tonight.
That is
for
more
the
bodies
Suns
than some frat guys I knew had back in the day, all right? That is a
fair.
list, right?
That is a list. I'm sorry for going to you, Gil, after this. This is the epitome of a trap game for the Suns.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of one of those things, too, like perspective, right? Just when you think you had bad injury luck, you run into a team who... Goodness gracious. Like, I don't know. It's like use like a 9-point font to get all these names.
That's
like,
what I was about to ask.
This is crazy to get all these names in there. But
could have got 2 pages.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. But all that being said, this team beat the Spurs last night.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you cannot take them lightly. I know Victor Wembanyama was on a minutes restriction, and he had 30 points in 21 minutes. So maybe if he played 25 minutes, they would have lost. But he didn't play 25 minutes, and they lost. And he even said that they took that team lightly, and they make you pay when you take them lightly. So, you know, Cam Spencer is a name we'll probably hear a lot tonight. Jaren Jackson Jr., you know, is a former Defensive Player of the Year. been an all-star before. Doesn't necessarily, make headlines for the way he crashes the glass, but they have some talent on that team. Vince Williams, another guy who is just, I don't know how they have so many depth pieces that are capable of contributing in these types of spots, but it seems like they're put in these types of spots more often than not.
This is the kind of game that your mentality preps you for all year, right? You hear no excuses. We're aligned. Play hard every night. Okay. Well, this is the kind of game where you have to leverage that to the max because you cannot have anything, distract you in this game. You can't take your foot off the gas because you're not good enough. No matter how many games above 500, you're not good enough to coast to a victory, and very few teams in the NBA are. So lock in, do your jobs, take care of business, and get some rest in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, getting some rest in the fourth quarter would be nice tonight. Obviously, it's weird when we get to these games about where does the must-win meter rank, because clearly this is one of the easier teams the Suns are probably going to play this month, even though they're not a bad team. They just do have a brutal schedule still with some good Eastern Conference teams coming up. But you also don't want to lose those games. This is what the Suns' must-win meter is at, averaging out at an 8.5. High scores all across the board, starting with the lowest. We got Steven at 7.5. Ayrton and Gill are at an 8. Espo at an 8.8. I think it's the first time an 8.8 has been on the Suns' must-win meter. I'm at a 10, and I'll explain why in a second, but still high for you three. Steven, you're the lowest, though.
You have to explain why you're at a 10?
Yeah, I have reasons. I don't just blindly give a 10 every game.
Yeah, sometimes it's a 9.9.
You have to explain.
Sometimes it's 9.
You have to explain.
I've given an 8
You have
this
to
season.
explain.
I do.
I'm
There are
confused.
reasons. I have reasons.
I'm very much confused.
I'm not. What's 7.5 for you?
It's 7.5 for me because it's one that you need to handle your business in, but it's also not getting close to a gotta have it type of situation, which is when I'm above 8 or if I'm at or above 8, it typically means that it's one of those type of games. This is not that. They should get this game. They better not lose it, and that's why it's so high on the must-win scale for me, but it's not a gotta have it.
Yeah, if I had known Ja was out officially, it would have been an 8.9 for me.
Okay, that's
moved up
huge.
that little bit. Look, these are the kind of games that if you want to be in that top 6, if you don't want to have to go through the play-in, that you have to win, so you have a cushion. That's as simple as it gets for me. Why it's important.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's right on the scale between better not lose and need to get it. I think 8 is right in between those two things for me. It's a Grizzlies team who, while they did beat the Spurs last night, they played last night, and it was a close game last night. And not necessarily those guys really didn't log like crazy minutes in that game per se, but it was a fight, and they didn't have to travel or anything like that. But again, they played last night. You didn't. You're at a rest advantage. Although you had a weird start to the week, you still had a day off to kind of reset a little bit. This is a no excuses team. So you finally are facing a team that has had way worse injury luck than you. Take advantage of it.
Well, they also lost 4 straight games going into that win against the Spurs, and they would have lost that Spurs game if they let Wemby play. They took Wemby out as soon as they got their first lead in the fourth quarter because he's on a strict minutes restriction, and then Memphis went on and won that game by 1 point. But this is a Memphis team that's picked up some pretty big victories so far this year. They did beat the Timberwolves earlier, which is a pretty big win. I mean, I guess other than that, they beat the Clippers when the Clippers weren't good. They did beat the Clippers when they were okay, and they beat the Bucks recently. Like, this is not a great Memphis team, but the reason why I'm at a 10 is for a couple of reasons that I'll explain here. Because I would say on a normal day against another team, copy and paste, it'd be like a 9, right? A nice, low, simple, controllable 9. The reason why it gets bumped up 1, Dillon Brooks back in Memphis, taking on Memphis, which is always big. And of course, this is coming off of the heels of Matt Ishbia saying that he's not going anywhere, which is just a very beautiful dichotomy between what Memphis did to him and what the Suns are doing with him right now. And number 2, this is a team that beat you on your home floor, which not a lot of teams have said this year, and they did it on a game winner. And honestly, one of the easier game winners you'll ever see is Ja Morant just takes a layup. So I think the Suns take pride in not losing back-to-back games to teams. I know it's been a while, but I'm sure that 1-4 start to the beginning of the season is still lingering in their heads and driving them. Get your lick back tonight. This is an injured team, and this is a team that you absolutely should beat. There's not a lot of those on the schedule, like Espo said. Take care of your business.
So your answer is it's because he's Eric is why it's 10, right?
There we
still
go.
confused as to why you had to.
I feel like there were some legitimate reasons there. If the Grizzlies, if you beat the Grizzlies earlier this year, I'd be at a 9.5, and if Dillon Brooks never played for the Grizzlies, it'd be a 9. So see, these are the difference.
Half bumps.
The
right there.
difference here. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, like you guys have mentioned, you still have to go out there and beat another NBA team tonight. Steven, on the Suns side of things, we have a pretty clean injury report except for Jamari Bouye and Jalen Green. Who do you feel like needs to really be the X factor on the floor for Phoenix?
Dillon Brooks. And it's Dillon Brooks for me because his temperament is as important as anybody's when coming into a game. Obviously, there's history involved with today's game. And naturally, with that history, he has a front office that basically put him in a box and scapegoated him. Literally.
They actually scapegoated
Like,
him.
they literally scapegoated him.
Yeah, he could say that after the game.
Oh my God. Could you imagine if he just like copy and paste exactly what
That would
KD
actually be
says
pretty
in
funny.
post game? Yo, that would be the funniest thing.
Only if he hits the game.
I'll be able to imply
Well,
with
even
that
if
game.
it just went, you'd just be like, yeah, it was nice to get a win against a team that scapegoated you and blamed you for all their problems. It's nothing but love for the players, but it's always good to get one against the team.
And I brought that up with him in mind specifically because if he has the right approach, the team usually responds when he's a piece of the tone that's being set. Go all the way back to the preseason. Diving on the floor for loose ball within the first 5 minutes of the first preseason game, everybody responds in accordance after that. When he's a little bit more further away from even keeled, that's when it's usually not the most conducive to winning. So if he has the correct temperament, that's the heavy as the head that wears a crown. You're in a position of leadership. You have to wear those qualities regardless of what the situation and circumstance is. If he's on schedule where he should be and comes out with the right approach, they could go and win this game by 20 or 30. I would not be surprised. But if he's uneven or if he's on the worst side of that, this could be a game where they're in the clutch and they're going up against a team that has a chance to win in a situation where they should be winning comfortably.
Do you think there's something like basketball-wise? I get the mentality-wise for Dillon Brooks, but what Brooks has been bringing as far as his isolation shot making and his post-up game that Memphis might struggle with?
That they would struggle with?
Yeah.
No, because he's probably going to be guarded by Jaren Jackson Jr., so that's a lot of length. That's a lot of athleticism to deal with. He knows him as well as anybody, so it's going to be a lot of chess being played there, but he's going to have to work a little harder to get to his spots because Jaren is, like you said, a reigning defensive player of the year and should probably have one more than he actually has right now.
I think it's going to be the bench tonight. You saw that they didn't come through in that second half against the Rockets. And what this bench has been good at is if this starters get you a lead, they extend it, right? And tonight is that kind of night where you need to build on that lead. You can't let the Grizzlies get back in when your second unit's in there and extend this game. Now you want to kick that door in and then keep the pressure on them all night. So I think that entire bench squad is where I'm looking at as being extremely important.
Well, especially if we see Grayson possibly come off of the bench. I'm seeing if the Suns tweeted the starting lineup. Yep, Grayson off the bench. It's still Colin, Dillon, Book, Royce, and Mark. For me, the X factor, and Gil, I'm curious your thoughts on this. I'm looking at the bigs tonight. I'm looking at Mark Williams and Oso Ighodaro. No Zach Edey, no Brandon Clark for Memphis. Now, Jaren Jackson Jr. is a very good player, but where he has some weaknesses is in rebounding the ball. If Mark and Oso can consistently be presence around the rim, offensive rebounding, and then cleaning up possessions on the defensive rebounding side, when you limit possessions against a worse team than you and don't let them get hot or get a lot more shots, usually that's a recipe for the better team to be able to take care of those that are under them in the standings.
Yeah, actually funny you say that because my answer was going to be a blend of both of your answers. I have my eyes on Mark Williams, right, because we've been clamoring for him to kind of figure it out. We've been trying to figure out what the issue is and what's going on, and is he out of rhythm since the suspension? Is it the matchups or what have you? So last time these two teams played, probably one of his best statistical games as a Sun. 20 points, 12 rebounds, 5 stocks, right? Feels like forever ago. It was forever ago. But they're also Grayson Allen. It's also a return game for him. He spent a couple seasons in Memphis, and he has some things going for him in Houston. The playmaking was fine, but the timing was off. So I would look to see, and I'm eager to see, if now he's got a game under his belt, the timing is a little bit better. He cleans up some of those turnovers. He keep the playmaking. Can see a shot or two fall in, because if he's doing that from the second unit, which is something we talked about, whether the second unit thing is going to be long-term or just something to get him back going, if he can find a groove with that second unit, maybe that'll pay dividends for this team. And answer a question that they don't necessarily have to worry about anymore when they try to figure out lineups once they do get healthy. But him looking comfortable with the second unit is the first step.
Well, by the way, the last time these two teams played was the first time Mark Williams ever started for the Phoenix Suns. He was coming up. They were coming off of that overtime loss to the Jazz, where the only reason they were in it was because Mark was there. So this was Mark's first start. He walks in to 20-12. Mark's not had the best couple of weeks here. He's had some lower lows than we've come to expect from him. Also, I'm looking at Grayson Allen. I know that like Devin Booker is always going to be one of those guys. Grayson, we're still waiting on a good game from Grayson for the first time in 2 months. Obviously, injuries is a really big part of that, but Espo, we've seen him come back from these injuries and really struggle to find his shot. 6 assists and 3 steals against the Rockets, but some pretty brutal turnovers. They're going to need him to round into form as you get closer to the end of January, closer to trade deadline, so at least their options are open or they know what they have in him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I think that starts tonight. The first game back for anybody is always difficult, especially for somebody that misses as many games with a knee injury that, we never really got any specifics on it. But that's difficult for a shooter. Everything starts with the legs for a shooter. And hopefully tonight that starts to build back up, because to your point, you need to understand, at least in some way, shape, or form, what you have and what you might want to do at the deadline. You're not seeing Jalen Green at least for another week in all likelihood, so you need to at least understand, is Grayson back to form and how healthy can he be the rest of the way?
When we look at the players, we can go on for days and days and days, but it's more than just individuals. What about the keys to the game, Steven? How do the Suns win tonight?
Yeah, it's big on picking up the pace and tempo. Last 2 games, the Suns have not scored many points. They've been a whole lot closer to 100 than they would like to. That's because the nature of the last 2 teams they went up against, you have to play a slower game because of how dominant they are on both sides of the basketball. This is a game where they need to kind of kick that door down and get back in alignment with the team that was one that fared well in the toughest portion of their schedule, and kind of picking up the tempo, creating some of those turnovers. Getting out in transition, fast break points, and getting closer to that 120 number in terms of the final score. So doing that, generally speaking, but in the half court, their tempo needs to improve as well. I want to see them get back to their principles. Number 2 for me is minimizing the second chance opportunities of the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are, I think, 8th or 9th in offensive rebound rate, so they're not necessarily elites, but they are top 3rd. If you don't box out, they will go and find their way to extra possessions. A team that's undermanned, the best way for them to kind of chip away is to win the possession game, but also win the time of possession. If you don't give up those old boards and you get out in transition after 1 shot on goal, should be good. Last one, get back to your pressure defensively. Didn't see it enough against the Rockets. It was there against Oklahoma City. You need to see it resurface in tonight's game.
Which one of those keys for you guys stands out the most?
I think the defensive pressure layer stands out to me a lot because, obviously Ja Morant has been in and out of the lineup throughout the year, but you have guys run the offense who are capable of doing so, but if you heat them up a little bit and maybe make them a little uncomfortable, they trust Cam Spencer a lot. They trust Vince Williams a lot. So how can you turn them over? How can you make them uncomfortable? How can you throw them off from getting to spots that they want to begin their actions from? Because those little things can disrupt everything that they have going on, and that could be a big key to success.
Yeah, that's been one of your biggest keys to success all year. For a team that was not expected to be good defensively, you're top 10 overall, you're creating turnovers.
Oh boy, those tweets.
Yeah, you're creating turnovers at a high rate. On the defensive, and those are the principles that make this team who they are. And in a game where you are playing an undermanned squad, that's how you put the pressure on them.
Yeah.
That's how you control the tempo. Mm-hmm. That's how you control and dictate how the game's going to go. So get back to what you've done so well defensively all year.
Looking at Memphis last night against the Spurs, the rebounding is really impressive. Obviously, you look at Jaren Jackson Jr., he grabbed 9 boards, which is a really high number for him. But then if you look on the offensive side of things, there are 2 players off the bench in Santi Aldama and Christian Koloko who grabbed 3 offensive rebounds each. Cam Spencer had 3 offensive rebounds. I can't believe we're this far in and we haven't talked about Jock Landale yet. He had 6 offensive rebounds last night, and then Jalen Wells had 2 offensive rebounds last night. That is 11 offensive rebounds in the starting lineup and 17 overall in that game that, again, they won by 1. There's a clear talent deficit here, but they certainly have a game plan. Vince Williams with 15 points last night. Santi Aldama is somebody that I'm looking at too. He nearly had a double-double off the bench, 10 points, 9 rebounds, added 2 assists and 2 blocks as well. He's somebody that I think is a starter caliber player. Obviously, he's dealing with a little bit of an injury right now, but he presents a unique matchup for the Suns as far as his size at the forward position. So I think he might be in for a pretty big game. Other than that, don't let
he out tonight.
No, Santi Aldama's playing.
Oh,
Jaren Jackson's available.
He was listed on our.
He was questionable on the injury
Okay.
report. Jaws out. Santi Aldama and Jaren Jackson Jr. are playing. And then don't let a couple other guys get hot from 3. Jalen Wells didn't have a good shooting night last night, but it felt like last season Jalen Wells always found the bottom of the net against the Suns. Cam Spencer was 3 of 8 from deep last night. Jock Landale was 3 of 7 from deep last night. He's taking threes.
Stop twisting.
He's taking threes.
Man, I miss you, Jock.
And Jaren Jackson Jr. was 5 of 7 from deep. Having a front court like that can take threes along with other guys who kind of have nothing to lose that are firing from deep as well. Vince Williams Jr. was 4 of 6. Like, don't let him get hot from 3. Defensive principles, close out, and don't let them dominate on the boards. Those are the 2 margins that are the most important tonight.
Yeah, I actually like a matchup where your bigs are spaced out a little bit more for this team rather than those guys that are just going to hammer you down low. But yeah, you're right. You gotta defend that 3-point line tonight and not fall asleep in your rotations. Otherwise, you'll pay the price.
I think that's the thing. There's no Ja Morant. Who from Memphis is putting pressure on someone that's guarding to not be able to stay in front of the basketball? If it's not Jaren Jackson Jr. or Santi Aldama, everybody else should be able to stay in front of the ball. Stay in front of the ball. You stay out of rotation. 3-point shots are not as clean. Force them into the shot clock. Cue the Jaws music. That's the Suns team that we've grown to know when they're at their best. They're doing those things, and they're stringing it together across quarters, yet alone possessions.
Please don't mention the shot clock.
Yeah, let's try to get a good one tonight. I think it's interesting, Gil, because what we talked about with Mark after the OKC game and what we've seen with Mark kind of struggle, when he switched out on a perimeter offensive player, he can move well. He has good hands. He moves his feet. But when it comes to gauging when to close out on a guy who can shoot from deep, we've sometimes seen those types of centers give the Suns hell. Even Quentin Post is somebody who we've seen hit threes. Having 2 bigs like that, does that make it easier because you know that you're going to have to close out? Or is that tougher because now you're kind of in no man's land every time they set a pick and they go?
I wouldn't say it makes it easier. And that's exactly what I was thinking about when you said that, Jackson and Landale shot a combined 14 threes. Yeah, I think the thing with Mark that has been something I want to see him continue to work through and work on is the indecision in closing out. And those like the indecisiveness with the closeouts. He had a couple against Chet where it was like, do I go or do I not go? And ended up just kind of being in no man's land. I think that I don't think it necessarily makes it easier because creatures of habit, and he's used to kind of being more in a help side spot. And knowing that he's not going to be it, and it doesn't necessarily make him more comfortable, I think I would say. And I also think that doesn't necessarily like add to the strength of the defense. I think it does help a lot of times. You see this across the league, right? You can play a little more aggressively at the point of attack, knowing there's somebody behind me that's going to clean it up in case, my aggression kind of gets, taken advantage of. But in this certain situation now, it's like, okay, how does everybody else react? How does he react? And how can you put him in spots to where he doesn't necessarily have to be out there? We saw the Suns go zone a couple possessions against the Rockets last game. I don't know if that's the answer. I'm not saying that's the answer, especially knowing that they could shoot you out of it. But I'm curious to see how he reacts in those spots and how he closes out to those guys.
I think it's interesting to see how Oso performs in it too, where this plays a little bit more into where he's pretty good defensively and going out on the perimeter and being able to switch a little bit. I'm really interested to see how they approach it defensively tonight.
Yeah, I think it's, again, back to my initial point, man. Contain the ball, you do your job. Everybody else can stay home. Rotate as minimally as possible. And like the last part, like I mentioned with the keys, go get the rebounds. You can't give them second opportunities because that's where the best shot quality threes come from outside of transition in the history of the game. So minimize those extra opportunities. Win the margins like you always do. That's akin to your identity.
Yeah, look.
You'll be where you want to be.
That's what we think the Suns need to do to get a win. This is what the Bet365 app has as far as the line on tonight's game. The Suns -7 on the spread, -270 on the money line on the road. Memphis +220 on the money line, +7 on the spread. Honestly, for a team as depleted as Memphis, Clearly, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Santi Aldama playing does help, but they still have a really long injury report. Not as big as you would expect when the Suns are really only missing one key piece and 2 rotation players in Jamari Bouye and Jalen Green, in that order, by the way. So I'm interested with this line. I wonder what the sportsbook knows. Maybe they just know that the Memphis Grizzlies are going to try hard. I need to try hard in our pre-game picks because I still have a lot of ground to make up. Let's get into them. Presented by, of course, our friends over at Bet365. Sign up, use code PHNX365, deposit 10, place a bet for 5, get $200 in bonus bets. They upped it for you. If your bet wins or loses, bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, you must be 21 plus and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT-STEP to 52342, or visit promgambling.az.gov. Real quick, we could just flash the earnings up. Okay, all right, take them down. Take them down.
0. All right.
Espo in neutral in dire danger of going down into the negatives. Gil at a plus 102.12. You're still good, but you're short. You're going down a little bit every single time. Ayrton at a plus 71.50 in second place. I, of course, like golf, the lowest score, wins at a minus 81.25. Let's go ahead and read Ayrton's bet here. He's got a long one. Big parlay. Devin Booker over 21.5 points. Dillon Brooks 15 plus points. Mark Williams 7 plus rebounds. Ryan Dunn over 12.5 PRA. Birthday boy Ryan Dunn with over 12.5 PRA. Oso Ighodaro over 13.5 PRA. And the Suns minus 9.5 on the spread. So an extended spread for Ayrton at a plus 1,200 with a 25% profit boost. That's a lot of legs, but I don't think anything completely unrealistic.
Yeah, he's going for the knockout blow here.
Is it possible to do a knockout blow in January?
I mean, have you seen the way we bet? Yeah.
That's fair.
You get any sizable lead. Yeah,
That's
it could
fair.
be the knockout blow.
Espo, how are you staying out of the negative?
Oh, look at this. This is the way we're going to win tonight. Jordan Goodwin, 15 plus points. Jordan Goodwin, 5 plus rebounds. Jock Landale, my boy, the first time I've ever included an opponent, I believe, in this.
I don't think that's
plus,
true.
10 points.
You just bet
at a
on
plus
KD
800.
Monday.
I didn't put Katie in one of my bets.
Who was that?
That was
KD?
not me.
I did KD 30 and Book 30.
That man
We might have to
not to speak, let alone put in my bet.
We might have to fact check that. I guarantee that you've put an opposing player in your bet so far this
I
year.
try to avoid it, but Jock has my heart and my bet tonight.
He's basically like a Suns player. He's always a Suns player.
Me some Jock.
Gil, you have Jock Landale in your bet?
I do not. I
You
do not.
should.
I kept it straightforward. You know, the betting emoji on iPhone is like all 7. So I went Devin Booker, 7 plus first quarter points. Mark Williams, 7 plus rebounds. Phoenix Suns are going to win by 7 or more. And that is plus 340 with a 25% profit boost.
777 jackpots. I need one to get back to the positive. That's not what I'm going for tonight. I just need a small win tonight. Give me Colin Gillespie over 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists. By the way, that's PRA. Mark Williams over 8.5 rebounds. Oso Ighodaro over 7.5 assists and rebounds. And then the Suns money line. So betting on rebounding for Mark, rebounding and assists for Oso, a good PRA game for Colin. Him and Cam Spencer. I think there's going to be a moment there where it's a white boy off. It's like, all right, I'm hitting a 3, you're hitting a 3. Which white boy has the most motion? We will find out tonight. Another two-way king and Cam
It's a white
Spencer.
boy winter out in Memphis.
It is a white boy winter in Memphis. I think that those two are going to be John back and forth. Like, seriously, I think they're going to be John back and forth at each other. I think they're going to trade some threes. I think they're going to get some rebounds and whatnot. So I got Colin PRA. And then I got Suns money line because I think the Suns win tonight. Of course, I think the Suns win tonight. Here's all of our score predictions for tonight's game. It's a clean sweep across the board. Steven, 117-108. Espo, 118-112. Gil, 120-107. I'm going 121-111. Gil, that's a pretty big margin of victory there.
Taking care of business tonight. That's all I got to say.
Kev's right. Bring Jock back. I love that idea.
If he's shooting threes, man.
Bring him back.
If he's shooting threes, maybe we should have included him in some trades in yesterday's show.
Come out and hang back in studio too, Jock.
Any final thoughts on Memphis, Phoenix on a Wednesday at the beginning of January?
It feels very much like it looks outside. Just, live through it because it's nice and gray and rainy and get the job done. It's the mentality in Arizona when you see rain, and that's what I want to see the Suns do tonight.
I thought the mentality in Arizona when there's rain is, oh my God, I can't drive anymore. Oh my God, I can't drive. What do I do? Let me hit my brakes.
To be fair, that's
literally what happens.
That's the Suns' mentality this year too. They've scored at the rim the least in the NBA. So.
That's fair.
Can't drive anymore.
Read Tim Cato's article over at GoPHNX.com. 3 reasons why the Suns are one of the most fun, surprising teams in the NBA. Final thoughts, Steven?
Yeah, set a tone. You need to set the tone, win the race to the first time out, force them to use it, and then pick up the baton with where you left off after that throughout the rest of the game.
Don't take this team lightly. You do what you do, you'll be all right.
SMW. But will they win? Of course, we'll be back for our post-game show to talk about it. Follow along at PHNX_Suns. In the meantime, for live up-to-date updates on the game and, of course, breaking news, trade rumors, as those are starting to float out there. If this is a boring game, maybe we'll dive into some of those in post-game. Of course, you follow me at ERIKRUBY. You follow Gil at GilMcGregor_. You follow Espo at Espo. Follow Steven at StevenPG3. That's Steven with a PH because he balances us out. That's right. He's on the other side. He's balancing us out because I'm at a 10 on the Suns must-win meter. He's at a 7.5. Which,
smooth.
by the way, I never thought that you'd get as high as you have on the Suns must-win meter, so I feel like I'm slowly winning. Like, to me, in the regular season, you would have never cracked a 5 last year.
You are not.
I'm slowly winning and always winning. The Freckled Mamba behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Follow him at Freckled Mamba, and we'll see you all back here for postgame.
We all silly like the mayor.